Welcome to Don't Quote Me on That. One day we will have an intro, but today is not that day. Hi, I'm Eleanor.
And I am Kalina.
And welcome back to me recording in every room of my house until I find one that doesn't suck. Today,
What number room out of number rooms are what's our ratio happening?
I don't know how many rooms are in our house,
Okay.
but
I don't know, I was expecting a different answer.
I think this is the fourth place I've tried to record. I have a lot of hope because for the first time I'm the only one home, so there's going to be no one else making noise.
That's a big step up. I did like the car for that reason.
I think, see, the thing is, I live in Arizona, right? So it's going to be 100 degrees.
Yeah.
I'd have to be up at 2 a.m. to record in the car, but I think it was one of our best sounding episodes.
It was. I think when I go home, I'll try the car thing.
Yeah, it's just
keep you updated.
Like when I recorded in the car, it was winter, so the car was getting warm, but like the car being warm, warmer than the 50 degrees outside is a lot better than the car being warmer than the 1,000 degree outside. Yeah.
For all of our European listeners, that's like, don't ask me the exact number, but that's like in the 40s.
I think, yeah.
I know when I was in France, it was like 40, and when they were having a heat wave when I went, and it was like 44, 45, and I think that was like 101, 102.
I know I've done the conversion once or twice, but it's hot, okay? 100 is a big number, and then it's more than that.
I will tell everyone my life hack, okay? It is, also, like, listen, I can get behind the European systems. I can get behind kilograms. Celsius doesn't make any sense. Celsius is how the temperature feels to water. Fahrenheit is how I saw someone explain Fahrenheit once is like, what percentage hot is it? It is, okay? Yeah. If someone says it's 100 degrees, it's 100% hot. That's hot, right?
Exactly. If someone says it's 120% hot, that's hot,
that's bad.
Stay inside.
But anyway, my little life hack is, and it's not super accurate, and I know there's like an actual conversion, but for me, I'm trying to work in Celsius, and I've gotten pretty good at it. So what I do is, if it's Celsius, right, say it's 0 degrees Celsius, that's 32 degrees Fahrenheit. What was my life hack?
I don't know, because right now that's just math. I think that's literally, there's like a 33 degree difference.
It involves doubling it somehow. So like if it's like 6, I can't do it unless I'm looking at the temperature, but I promise you it did work for me for the whole winter. Like I did look at it in Celsius the whole time and was prepared for what the temperature would be. Here, I'm going to do it now, okay?
Okay.
It's 17 degrees Celsius where I am. Oh, okay. So what you do is you double it and then you add 32, right? So I figured it out. So like it's 17 degrees Celsius now. So double of that is 34. And then I add 32 to that, which is 66. And like as I said, this is not super accurate, but like in Fahrenheit, it's 62 degrees right now. You see? It's like, it's close enough. It gives me the right idea.
Give you an even better life hack. You can just change your phone to Fahrenheit.
I know I can change my phone, but see, I'm trying to learn Celsius. So what I would have to do every single time is back out of the city I'm in, go to my weather menu, and every time go Fahrenheit, check it, and then go back to Celsius so I can make a comparison. Whereas this way, it forces me to remember it in Celsius, so I don't have to do math every time. You see? You see, you underestimate how badly I don't want to do the math.
So instead, you're just doing math?
No, well, see, I had to do math that time, but never mind. Listen, Eleanor, if I said to you it's 70 degrees, you wouldn't have to think about what that felt like. You would just know how to prepare, right?
No, I honestly...
Eleanor, just say yes for the sake of my argument.
I bring a jacket
I'm sorry. If
no
I was
matter
like,
where I go.
I'm sorry, Eleanor. If I was like, it's 100 degrees outside, right? You know what that's like. You know what clothes you need to put on for that,
I would
right?
Stay inside.
Okay.
Hey, folks.
Today's episode is about Euphoria, season 2, episode 7, and also unrelated. I'm looking for a new co-host. One preferably that I can physically reach, so if they annoy me, I can strangle them.
Hello, everyone. The episode we are talking about today is entitled The Theater and Its Double. And we're going to be honest. This is one of the most confusing episodes in a linear sense. This one and the next one actually the next one's fairly cut and dry, if I'm remembering correctly. This one, it does a lot of switching back and forth between Lexi's play and what is actually happening at the time and what happened in the past. It's a lot, okay?
And we're not very smart.
We are not, and we don't have very good memory.
You know that audio that's like, you're not very smart and you're not very bright. I'm so glad we had this talk. I think we should do that, but it's just to ourselves.
Okay, well, that's from one of the best movies ever made. It's a Cinderella story, but it's the one with Hilary Duff and Chad Michael Murray. And it's just...
You know what I think,
one of the
actually...
first movies I watched.
You know, it explains a lot about who we are as people, not in like a bad way, but like I think it like establishes our relationship. Is your favorite Cinderella story is the one with Hilary Duff, and mine is the one with Selena Gomez. To be fair, I did really like Selena Gomez for a hot minute. So
hey guys, so Kalina is actually looking for a new co-host. I will.
You can
help
go anytime.
With that search.
I will fly off the handle with these notes.
I will say the Selena Gomez one has good songs.
That was all like I don't necessarily like. I agree the Hilary Duff one is peak, but just like for me personally, I like Selena Gomez. It's got "Tell Me Something I Don't Know," which is
honestly one of the best Selena Gomez and the Scene.
And then
I don't think Selena Gomez and the Scene is being given the credit that it needs to, because
they deserved it.
Were the moment for like.
And then it's got that like dancing scene where like she's on one side of the mirror, but
with the mirror,
right?
Oh my god!
Right.
And I'm pretty sure this one has Jane Lynch in it, doesn't it?
I don't know. And then I know they did one a few years after with one of the Pretty Little Liars girls.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure.
Lucy Hale.
Yeah, and I liked Lucy Hale in theory. And that one was like super listen, that one was like I think the cheesiest, but like also not as bad as you would expect it to be. But like yeah, like that's not a bad thing. I agree. The Hilary Duff one is chef's kiss, but like I'm a little biased. I like Selena Gomez a lot. Tell Me Something I Don't Know. Yeah, it is Jane Lynch, you're right.
Yeah, and she has that storyline where she has back knee. And I want to say there's a song about it, but I genuinely, truly might be mixing it up with Muffin Top from 30 Rock, which is Jane Krasinski, I believe is her last name, but I might be wrong.
So, back to Euphoria.
I'll be honest, I think Jane Lynch should be on Euphoria just because Jane Lynch is in everything.
Listen, we're never going to get to Euphoria. Glee is trending right now, like on Twitter, and I've seen so many things that are like, they're like, apparently... I couldn't figure out why it was trending. A lot of people were asking that question. And then I saw one or two tweets that was like, Glee's getting a reboot and that's why it was trending.
No.
A lot of people were like, Glee doesn't need a reboot because, and then they like show scenes with Jane Lynch. But I retweeted one that was my favorite. And they were like, how is Glee going to do a reboot when nothing's going to top this scene? And if you go to our Twitter, it's Don't Quote Us 27. I retweeted it. But it's Santana just telling Kurt about himself. She's like, yeah, maybe that's why Brittany and I didn't work out. She's like, or maybe. And then she just lists all the reasons he and Blaine are insufferable. And like, no offense to Kurt, but she was right. Full offense to Kurt, actually. She was right. She's like, maybe he wants to marry someone who knows more than 3 dance moves. The finger wag, the shoulder shimmy, and the one where you pretend to spin two what is it? Like 2 ribbons on each of your hips. And like,
Wait, that's a segue. You are technically on topic. That's a segue. There's a dance scene in this episode.
So, in Euphoria, there's a dance scene, right?
Euphoria.
It's only been 10 minutes. I think we're allowed 10 minutes an episode to just waste time, so.
Exactly. And we don't remember enough about this episode to squeeze out an
No, we gotta
entire-
fill it. I said, like, I my first note is Lexi looks so good in the opening shot. I have no idea what she looks like, but she looked good. So if you watch season 2, episode 7, tell me that I'm right.
Yeah. So this is the play that has kind of been talked about all season, even though like it's really not been talked about. It just has been mentioned 3 times in 4 different episodes. But
Yeah, like it very quickly became a focal point, despite it not existing for a while.
yeah, it does. Okay. Unfortunately, I am in the midst of writing an essay about Euphoria for one of my classes for my master's. And what I have learned
I'm
is that
educated here.
I
Don't quote me on
hate
that.
Sam Levinson.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And I'm trying really hard to not have that be my whole essay. I just think that this episode specifically, has a lot. It's not usually linear, and there's usually a lot of jumping back and forth. And, you know, we all know that we have a narrator who is incredibly unreliable.
Mm-hmm.
But this show, or this episode specifically, the play is just another version of real life. It's a very, we've all heard Maddie say, wait, is this play about us? And it is. The play is just the story of Euphoria,
Yeah.
but from Lexi's point of
She just
view.
changed the names.
And
yeah.
and a little bit different name.
Like it's not even. Yeah, she didn't even like. It's not like, for example, she like changed the drugs, or like rather than Rue being a drug addict, she was like an alcoholic or something. Like she really just I think she just like wrote down her life story, as Eleanor said, from her point of view, and then went through and like Control F in Word to change everyone's
she
name.
just
And then
changed
called her
Rue to Jade, and like.
I wrote it down because I was so confused. So she changed Lexi to Grace, Rue to Jade, Maddie to Marta, Cassie to Hallie, and Kat to... okay, I wrote B-E-H here, and I don't think that was the lady's name. So...
No.
Kat was something beginning with a B.
Well, you know what? That's more than
That's
I
a lot
remember.
of things beginning with a B. Remember when she broke up with Ethan by telling him she had a brain tumor? Anyway, the play.
Yes. So I believe the episode opens with another glimpse at Rue's dad's funeral, which all the girlies are at. And we've seen quite a lot from this funeral. They're really just milking. There's really only like 4 locations this whole season, and one of them is Rue's dad's funeral, which happened way before the start of the show.
And we always get the same, no matter like what the context is for us seeing the funeral, we at some point get the exact same scene, just sometimes from different angles, of Rue reading the little note, like reading her little note for him, where he's like, if you ever miss me, just close your eyes because my memories
Never
exist
really
outside of time or something. Yeah. Every single time. Like, I think that happens at least once an episode we see that. And like, I get it's important, but also we get it.
Yeah, it would have been better if it was like all in like one episode perhaps, and we go, I don't know, it's really nothing is ever added. I think a little bit is added this time because we really get to see Lexi and Rue's friendship, which I really appreciate, because I think in the last episode we talked about how Cassie accuses Rue of being a bad friend, which, to be fair, she is. But in this one, we actually get to see what kind of things were like before Rue's dad died and Rue became addicted to drugs. So we got to see kind of what it is that Lexi is actually holding on to, which I really appreciated.
I don't know if this happens in this episode, but it's either in this one or the next one. because I think because of when we come into the story, not just in this season, but even in season 1, I think it's very easy to be like, why? What brings these people together? Like, why are they friends? And so I think, like I said, it's in either this one or the next one. But we also get to see kind of like how Maddie is as a friend, you know, and like we've been getting
Yeah, I
hints
think it's
about
this
each
one.
person. Yeah, we've been getting, I think, more and more hints about each person as like as a person and not just like a character, if that makes sense, as this season has progressed. But like, yeah, we're getting more insight into like how this all started.
Yeah, we get to see it's just really refreshing to get to see things from a point of view who isn't Rue. Honestly, is half the good part.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like we love Rue here. Bad narrator.
Not,
And it's not like she's
not
given
reliable.
great work. But anyway, while the like funeral is happening, there's kind of a little moment where it turns out that this was actually a scene in the play. Which is,
I thought they did that well. Like sometimes, so like we'd be looking at Rue and like or the like, and I told you that I've said this before. They've done a really good job of de-aging them. So we're like looking at young Rue and Lexi and Cassie and Maddie and all this, and then all of a sudden, we kind of like pull out a frame almost, and we're looking at the stage, and it's the actress playing Rue, or I guess in this case Jade. So I think that helped make it a little less confusing, because I think it would have been very easy to be like, well, I don't know. I can't keep track of this, you know? Who's who, what's happening.
I saw a lot of tweets around the same time that were like, I can't believe they found actors who looked exactly like these people. And it's like, yeah, I can. They all, I mean, it's not like they're incredibly unique. Like, they're all very pretty, but it's not like they're incredibly unique looking.
Yeah, and it's not like they were going for, like, doppelgangers, you know? They were like, are you blonde and have big boobs? Great, you're Cassie. Like, that.
Yeah.
And no offense, you could find a lot of blonde, big-boobed ladies if you tried.
Oh, absolutely. This is more has to do with the play in general. But I think Kalina might have an opinion on this as well. I think half of kind of the audience and the kind of big budget play scenes, I think those are made up. I think Lexi is an unreliable narrator in her own right.
My God.
I do not think.
Yeah.
I do not think that we are supposed to read it like this. I think Sam Levinson is like, oh yeah, that's just what a play is like. But I think, you know, I have to think that the kind of the big budget that would be needed is imagined by Lexi, and part of me wants to say that even how packed the audience is imagined by Lexi, but I'm curious as to your thoughts.
I didn't think about it that way, but that makes a lot of sense, especially if you remember, I think this was the last episode where Lexi was like doing, like, we kind of switched into like a behind the scenes, like as if they were filming. And she was, you know, she'd get like a little title card. She'd sit in her little director's chair and like talk about her motivations, and like she had Rue interviewed too. So like that makes, and like obviously that was all in her head. So like that makes a lot of sense that the extravagance of the play is in her head.
Yeah, I kind of have to believe it, because if I think about it in like a more logical way, the only explanation is that unfortunately the writer just doesn't know about high school budgets.
I do remember now that we do see a scene where Lexi, I think she like walks up to the principal and she's like, "Hi, I'm Lexi Howard," and the guy's like, "Yeah, Lexi, I know who you are."
Yeah.
And she like asks if she can put on the play. He just kind of gives her, he doesn't even like ask her what it's about or like what the context is. He's just like, "Yeah, Lexi, you can do whatever you want." So I do think I do agree that Lexi probably got a bit more free reign than anyone else would have.
Oh, absolutely.
Putting on the play. But like definitely not, and like
it's kind of like Lexi's Harry Potter in the sense that she can kind of do whatever and it'll just work out.
Yeah, because, like, Lexi's a good student. You know, she does all the things at school. So I'm sure everyone was like, oh, she's a smart girl. She won't do anything bad or that we would be disappointed by. But, like, also, like, where is the money she's spending? Mr. Demetrius Harmon, who was very funny on Vine, on Twitter, said, Euphoria High is ran by students. They took over the school and kicked out all the teachers. That's the only way this play could ever happen in a public school. And he's right.
He is right. It's also the only way that they would be able to wear what they wear to school without getting dress coded into oblivion.
Like, I will get to an extent. Like, at some point, the teachers just stop caring, and like, there's bigger things to worry about. But some of the outfits were like I spend a lot of time, more time than the average person, in a water polo suit. And if no one's ever seen a water polo suit, it's like a swimsuit but worse. They somehow are less covered than me. And just showing up to school like that.
I got dress coded once for wearing a tank top. The strap was, 3 fingers wide. I was wearing that, and I was wearing like jean shorts that went to my mid thigh, because as we discussed previously, it gets to be over 100 degrees, and I got dress coded. So, like, if I can't wear shorts when it's absolutely roasting outside, they can't wear their little held together by a thread little cardigans. And yes, I am saying that because I'm bitter.
Did they have the rule for you where, like, your shorts couldn't have to be longer than, like, your fingertips if your arm was down?
Yeah.
That just wasn't fair to, like, tall girls, because, like, I got ape arms according to my mother. So, like, just a little or, like, I remember one time we were having, like, a jersey day at school. So, like, if you played a sport, you would, like, wear whatever you wore on the field.
Yeah.
And then we were told we couldn't do that. To be fair, it's because the men would be shirtless, right?
Okay,
like,
all right.
We couldn't wear your swim top to school.
Oh, like, I'm really sorry. I know this has nothing to do with what we're talking about. I have not remembered to ask you in the last couple weeks. Okay. In Arizona, we get early release every single Wednesday. Is that just us?
I would like to and my father always says where he comes from, a question doesn't answer a question. But I would like to make an exception this one time and ask you, where are you ranked nationally in education? And then I think that should answer your question.
Okay, that's kind of what I figured. All right, that's fair.
My school had what we used to call, and I think this had to do with the program I was in, but we used to have what was called a PSD, which is a professional study day. And those, I think we'd have them maybe like one a month or something. It was supposed to be something like that, where we'd get out at like 12:30, so even earlier than like early release. And then we had a few early releases here and there, like before a holiday and stuff.
Regular days we got out at 3:05, I think. Every Wednesday it was like 1:30.
Yep. Okay. Oh, that's stupid.
It was interesting.
We used to get out of school. School was from 7:40 to 2:40, and then early release. I honest to God couldn't tell you when an early release was. Oh, at a professional study day, we might have gotten out on like 11 or something. I don't know. We got out really early, is the moral of the story. But those were like,
but they weren't every week
to my program. No, It wasn't every week. We'd have like maybe once a month, and then like our early release would be like, if we had like like I said, like if we're going into spring break or something, like we had the Friday off of school. Yeah. Usually the early release would be the Thursday.
Okay. Yeah, well, we had like Wednesday schedule, and then we had actual early release, and then we had a couple days where they just let us leave at 11 because they were sick of us.
Every single Wednesday you got out of school early?
Yeah, we still had all of our classes. They were just shortened by 5 minutes, and then
oh yeah, same.
We didn't have, like, we used to have this thing before lunch. It had a stupid name, but basically it was a free period, essentially. It was study hall for like an hour before lunch. We didn't have that, and then classes were all a little bit shorter. So yeah, school was like an hour or two shorter every Wednesday, and then they just let us leave.
And you all like still managed to do the required hours that you needed to be in school in a year?
I got a diploma that no one has questioned.
Because I know that was a thing. Like, this doesn't happen often, but every once in a while you have like a hurricane day in Florida. So like, if school ever had to close for a hurricane day to make sure we got the correct like the number of hours we were supposed to in a school year, they might cancel professional study day just to make up the hours. But like, y'all just got out early. Anyway, Euphoria.
Sorry, yeah. Here's another thing. I know this is
I would
really
be on
just
that for a while.
we usually kind of go through it by the timeline, but at this point I think everyone has kind of seen the play, and I think it would just be more interesting if I got Kalina's answers to some questions or some observations that I had during it, because I think, and then next week it'll kind of be important that we go timeline wise.
Yeah.
Is that fair? Because there were a couple things that, really the big things that I had a lot of questions about and that I don't think we've talked about.
Well, before we get into that, I'm just skim through some of my notes here since we're not going in order. One thing, I do think Lexi might have changed something, because I wrote down here, you can't rewrite history, but you can wish you did something differently. And I wrote down that Grace, which is for the sake of not confusing myself and Eleanor, I'm just going to refer to them as themselves in the play. So Lexi took Rue's drugs in the play. Like, she took her drugs from her, which she, as we've seen in flashbacks and stuff, is something she wished she had done. Mm-hmm. She threatened to do, but she never really went through with it, and she feels some guilt about it. And then I think that's all, actually. My next note is about Fez, and we don't really need to hear my next note about Fez.
No, next week, or next time we do a Euphoria episode, it will unfortunately be 2 hours long, and half an hour of that will be Kalina talking about Fezco. But in a nutshell, he does not make it to the play. We kind of find out why all of next week, so I think it would be smarter to save that, just because it will derail us for a really long time, like worse than usual. One thing basically the play is taking us through everything we've seen so far, with kind of the scenes were more picked out by Lexi. One thing she left
I remember
in
my
there,
other note.
Yes, of course.
Sorry, it was, so she starts in 9th grade. I don't remember when this comes up, but it says the play starts in 9th grade. So I was like, how long is this play supposed to be if we're going back that far? Because they're like juniors now, you know? Mm-hmm. And she's very, like Lexi isn't glossing over details. Like, she really gets into everything.
Yeah. The play is like 5 hours or 5 years long in real time, or at least that's the period it covers.
Well, I suppose it makes more sense for your theory then that some of this is in her head, because maybe it's not as detailed in the actual play as she's letting, like, maybe, she wrote it as detailed as she'd like it to be, and then kind of obviously have to cut things down for timing's sake.
I mean, I think, for the most part, what we see is what happens. It's just a lot grander. That we see it a lot grander. One thing that we know was in the play, because there's talk about it. The carousel.
Oh, listen.
I need your thoughts on whether or not Lexi should have put that in the play.
My thought, because the whole thing, so if everyone remembers, this was last season this happened, yeah?
I believe it was first season, yes.
Cassie
it was, because it was the
took
carnival.
Molly and then got on the carnival and had a ride in a different sense than a normal carousel ride.
Unfortunately, she did ride the carousel horse to completion.
Yes. In public, in the middle of the carnival, in full view of everybody, including the children that were on the carousel with her, because funnily enough, teenagers don't usually ride a carousel. It's usually small children, right? And everyone's, all the Cassie defenders, which I don't know why there's Cassie defenders, but Cassie defenders are like, oh my God, Lexi should never have put that in the play, blah, blah, blah. And in the show, Cassie gets mad at Lexi. She's like, why would you put that in there? And blah, blah, and you're making me look bad. Listen, I don't think Lexi... You know what made you look
worse?
In general, I don't think Lexi should have been like, aired out everyone's laundry like that. Like, I know she didn't mean anything by it, but at the end of the day, like, showing people's day-to-day, like, the things they're going through just as they are, with no, like, modification, no even, like, attempt to be like, this is based on real life. Like, at the beginning, like, Law and Order, like, the following isn't meant to, like, reflect any real person. Like, no, she made no attempt to do anything like that.
I'm pretty sure the play was, like, literally called Our Life.
That's the name of the play. You did those things. Mm-hmm. It's not like Lexi exaggerated what happened. You, like... Anyway, the short answer is I think she was she was well within her right to put that in the play because it happened. And it's not like it happened. You did it. I don't get how you can be upset with, like, how dare you make me look like it was basically, it wasn't like how dare you put that in. It was more along the lines of how dare you make me look like that. Look like what? She just like wrote down what you did. That's what you did.
And honestly, like, granted, that wasn't the biggest thing that happened at the carnival. People definitely saw it, girl, okay? And no offense to Cassie, at this point, everybody who goes to school with you know that you have a couple screws loose. So
honestly, I'm surprised this is the first time the carousel thing got brought up since it happened.
Exactly. Thank you. I do think, like you were saying, there were at some points where Lexi put some things in, and it's like, I think the main thing is, like, we just didn't have enough about kind of the story of the play, especially like as an audience. Really, the play is just the 2 seasons from a different perspective. Like, we didn't get enough story of, like, because the play is just basically Lexi going, everybody is doing things and I'm not, and my sister is hot, and sometimes that makes me kind of sad, which is fair, but, like, it's basically just the same thing.
Yeah, like, I don't entirely, like I said, like, in the last episode, that was one thing, is Lexi, I think for the first time, was like, I don't know if she was talking to Fez, and she's like, I don't know if I should put this play on, like, people might get their feelings hurt. And, Fez said his wise, sometimes people need to get their feelings hurt, which, like, I agree. But I can kind of see the problem with her, as I said, airing out everyone's dirty laundry, even if it is things they did, and she wasn't doing it to be vindictive. But, like, because of where it's coming from, I don't think it's that big of a deal. Should she have, like, talked to someone that she was writing about?
Yes.
Definitely. Should she have put a little more thought? But, like, I don't think it even occurred to her to do those things because she was, like, she wasn't trying to hurt anyone. She was generally just like, these are the things the people around me are doing. I'm just going to write them down because I think to her, because she's on the sidelines, she's like, oh, your life is so exciting and interesting. Other people should see that. But, like, I'm going to give my insight because I never get to
She never gets to say anything, yeah. There is, I think, a really good point in the play where she talks about, or, in the play characters at least kind of show how being Cassie's little sister has kind of impacted her. And I think that was it was a poignant, if you will, because we kind of see how, on one hand, Lexi kind of wants the attention that Cassie is getting, but at the same time can see that even Cassie doesn't there are times where Cassie is overwhelmed by all the attention, especially because the attention comes from her body.
Yep.
So I think that was kind of a good conversation because I don't know. I don't have any siblings.
Articulated some things that, like, I don't think Cassie could articulate that for herself,
Yeah.
So I think she's able to do that. I did find a note here. I said, I guess it's a scene of Lexi and Fez talking, and Fez says, "You're really stroking the bee's nest," which, like, isn't the right way, the right phrase. But, like, I was like, why is it Fez of all people that's pointing that out to her? Like, why does she not realize that just because your intentions are good, and like things may not seem like a big deal to you, people find like you can't decide, or you have no idea what someone finds embarrassing about themselves, you know?
Yeah.
People are insecure about things like that no one else would notice.
And even like, you know, I don't think I would be able to guess what would make Kalina the most insecure if I put a play on about her. But I think, you know, if I manage to pick something that even, you know, maybe she doesn't even know is true, that's going to hurt a lot more than just kind of picking on the easy stuff, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah, or if someone did a play about me and then was like, haha, Kalina's insecure about her big forehead, and then Kalina was like, I didn't think I had a big forehead. Is that what everyone was just saying that? But also, Eleanor, you could definitely write a play and hurt my feelings immediately. You know exactly what you'd have to do to hurt my feelings. Just think about it.
Well, I wouldn't know how to dramatize it.
Yeah, you don't even have to dramatize it. Okay? Just record me the next time I FaceTime you while I'm having a crisis, and then we're fine.
God. It's gonna be called Hair.
Yes.
No relation to...
Anyway. On a lighter note, we get to see who's playing. First of all, I didn't realize this man was playing so many characters.
I'm so sorry.
Okay,
I had one more quick thing. When you were talking about how like Lexi doesn't, like, you know, she kind of hurt people without realizing. I think I just thought about this, which is why I'm so excited. Everybody else, like, no one else cared about her play. Like, I don't think Cassie put... I think, like, if Cassie had asked, or, like, one of them had been like, oh, you know, can I give it a read-through? She might have let them, but they, like, put no interest in the play. Granted,
yeah, which goes right back to...
They didn't know that they might have, like, needed to protect their reputations, but, like...
Yeah, like... And that kind of goes back to Lexi's whole point, is no one ever cares about what my opinion, and not even like a self-deprecating way. It's just like no one ever, you know, really asked for what my opinion was or what my thoughts were on things. And the few times I had chances to do something, like, for example, telling Rue's mom Rue was doing drugs, I didn't. So this is my chance to say, here's all the things I've thought for the last 5 years.
Yeah. But anyway, I think Kalina is bringing up the best part of the entire season. Sorry.
Well, I have Faye steaming Fez's clothes for him. It's so sweet.
Oh, it is so sweet.
We get interjected with scenes of Fez getting ready to go to the play, and this man's got on like a full suit. Okay. He's got flowers.
So good. He has flowers, and he has a little note.
Faye comes in. I think she like has to tie his tie for him because, of course, he doesn't know how to do that. He's just the sweetest man in the whole world.
He really is, and it's just...
And then before the play is, like, starting, he's, like, and, like, Lexi's like, I saved you a seat in the front.
The best seat in the house.
Yeah, and he's like...
He keeps looking, and it keeps being empty.
I said, in Fez's defense, he probably runs on island time, and he's a little slow in life general, so... For those of you who don't know... my father's Jamaican. So my father, if you want him to go someplace, you have to tell him, like, we used to go out to dinner. And if we wanted to go to dinner for 5:00, we had to tell him we wanted to go to dinner for 4:00. And then if we were lucky, we might make it there for 5:00. Then Eleanor and I went to Ireland. I love the Irish. Notoriously at least 30 minutes late for anything. Even if they pick the time and set the standard, they're going to be 30 minutes late. I got in the habit... I hate being late. I got in the habit of waiting for someone. If I was meeting someone, I'd wait for them to tell me they were at the place, and then I would leave my house so I'm not waiting. And then they would still
get there at the same time.
Yeah.
So, I once had an appointment for my visa. So, like, you know, fairly important. They're like, okay, meet there at 7. I got there at 7, stupidly. And then at 7:15, they let me in.
So I have a theory. It's because, like, I couldn't figure out what it was. I was like, what is it with the similarity between the Jamaicans and the Irish? They're both islands. Yeah. So it's island time. Island time is, like, at least just 30 minutes back.
I fully agree, and I 100% believe that Fez runs on island time.
So I would be now as a watcher, especially if I went to the school, I'd be so invested in this play because I love drama that has nothing to do with me.
Me too. Just, oof. I just have no stake in it. My favorite thing is, and I think Kalina and I have talked about this, is like, you know something's happening, but you just like ask questions like you don't. You're like, oh, how are you in? And then 30 minutes later, you have the best story of your life.
Listen, not to sound like a crazy person or like an instigator, but if my friends are having a problem and then I get 3 versions of the story, I just like to sit down with those 3 versions and I'm like piecing it together in my head. I'm like, okay, here's the similarities, here's what's different, like what part is miscommunication, what part is like someone just purposely left this. Listen, I'd be like going full Sherlock on this.
I'm never gonna do anything with the information.
No,
except for,
it's just for me.
Be with myself with it, but I just love it. I think that's why I like watching plays so much.
Oh, we were talking a bit about how like Lexi, there's some insecurity around not looking like Cassie, and like Cassie is loved for her body. And there's a quote in the play, I think it's while Ethan is playing their mom, and they're talking about Cassie's boobs, or I don't remember the character's name, but in the play, like Cassie's boobs.
Yeah.
And then they look at Lexi and they're like, some guys prefer smaller boobs. And like, just little things like that, which like are probably meant to be, good and like trying to make Lexi feel better. But like at the end of the day, she's always going to feel like she's compared.
Yeah.
To Cassie. And then also we get interjected. Again, this is partly in the play, but then also it's like the actors. It's almost like a flashback, but it's also in the play, if that makes sense. So we get to see.
Unfortunately, it does not make sense, but it wasn't supposed to.
It's like Cassie and Lexi hanging out with their dad before he finally stopped showing up and calling. And at one time, I think he's drunk when he's supposed to be driving them home. And Lexi goes, I think we should have Mom come pick us up. And Cassie goes, I don't want him to think we don't trust him. And I was like, there's Cassie again seeking validation. We kind of see how, again, they're always on opposite sides of the issue. And also, no, Cassie, we don't trust him. He's drunk and trying to drive you home. And I said that Lexi kind of seemed like she was not hoping, but she thought or like expected or wanted that this tragedy of their father kind of becoming absent and stop showing up to bring them closer together.
Yeah.
And Cassie did the opposite.
I think we get some scenes. Well, I know we get some scenes. This is what I'm thinking for Cassie, right? Where Maddie is kind of the protective older sister that Cassie. Mm-hmm. I don't want to say should have been, because obviously Cassie was going through her own thing, but she was definitely the protective older sister that that Cassie needed. Yeah, that Lexi really wanted Cassie to be. Mm-hmm. And I think it's really good that Lexi had that from somewhere. And I think, it's also kind of good that we remember that not everything is Cassie's fault. The actions she's doing right now are her fault. But, like, I think it was good that we get a little bit more of a human side to kind of really, honestly, everyone, because we didn't get a lot of it from Maddie either. And I do like that we finally know that Maddie and Cassie had been best friends forever, and that Lexi was also kind of in the friendship group as well, which makes a lot of sense. We just now need to know how Kat fits into everyone else.
Yeah, I did say we get a super cute scene where Maddie somehow is the most human. I did say I think Lexi did a very good job of not making them just vapid teenage girls, because now that we know they're friends, it makes a bit more sense. But like, as someone on the outskirts, I think it would have been very easy for her to be like, they're stupid and they just like to talk about boys and do their makeup, because she's very different from them. But we get a scene where Maddie is doing Lexi's, this is like younger Maddie and Lexi, and she's doing Lexi's makeup, and they're like just chit-chatting, and Lexi is like, she says something about how don't you feel stupid when you do things, or aren't you worried you're gonna look stupid? And because Lexi doesn't usually do makeup, I think that's what the conversation's centering around. Yeah. And Maddie goes, yeah, I felt stupid, and then I chose not to, and she's basically just like, you just have to pretend you're confident. That's
half the battle.
That's all you gotta do. Yeah. No, we need to get through this play because there's a scene I forgot this scene is in this episode and I want to talk about it.
Please.
So yeah, Lexi kind of just seems like she wants to go closer, and Cassie's like, nope, I really want to be with my dad. And I was surprised, especially not understanding how Kat and Maddie and Cassie all became friends, as Kat and Maddie were the ones that stuck together after everything. And I appreciate that I think we brought this up before, but Lexi does a good job, and I think the show, to an extent, also does a good job of saying that the people who do bad things, like let's say Rue or Lexi's mom, aren't bad people. Like just because Rue's an addict doesn't make her an irredeemable person.
Yeah, I think they do a really good job of, I guess, humanizing the characters, for lack of a better term. Mm-hmm. But I do think that, unfortunately, they still try to humanize people who might be a little bit irredeemable. But I mean, I guess kind of I would rather kind of have everybody be given a second chance than nobody.
Yep.
And it seems like, unfortunately, in Euphoria, it is just that black and white.
Yeah. And then there's a scene we get with like the Howard family dancing. This is when their dad's still around. So it's just the four of them dancing around in the living room. And I wrote how Lexi and Cassie have the same dreams but took different paths to get there. Made me insane. Yes. I don't remember specifically what I was talking... Well, if you remember, I don't remember specifically what I was talking about.
Me either. I just like that takeaway.
But I wrote down, if everyone was wondering, I think love is stupid and you can do lots of other cool stuff with your life. And I think it was probably like having a family that doesn't fall apart and a father, just a male figure that's around. And Cassie very clearly decided to double down on running after male figures, whereas Lexi, I think, took it as she needs to be okay on her own and then she can be okay with someone else.
Yeah,
but at the end of the day, they both have the same
abandonment issues. But
yeah, they both have the same, like Lexi's like, you can't abandon me if I'm okay on my own, whereas Cassie's like, I'm gonna get love one day and it's not gonna look like my parents,
Mm-hmm. But I do, I do think there's also almost a little bit of like desperation there with Lexi. Definitely not in the same way as Cassie, but Lexi, like, she's so desperate to be okay on her own that like she doesn't even consider. And I think honestly this might be partly because she has to grow up around Cassie, who is always trying to like give parts of herself to other people who may or may not deserve it. Lexi is just going the complete opposite way of never giving anyone anything and hoping that'll work out too. Yeah. Now, we get a cute little scene. Lexi, Fez, Rue. I love the Lexi, Fez, Rue trio. They're like smoking and they try to get Lexi to smoke and Lexi's like, I don't really like not controlling my brain. And then I said, I take back what I said about love. It's okay when Fez does it. Unfortunately, there's a lot of things that are okay when Fez does that. Now, to the scene that this is the only thing I was dying, I had interest in coming off the last episode. Before I get into that, because I do think this is an important note, I think they did a very good job of making Cassie look like Maddie, and then toning down Maddie without losing her essence. So Maddie wasn't as in your face, but still very clear, especially like specifically the makeup looks. Very clearly still Maddie, whereas Cassie was emulating her without quite getting there. And I did write down, because there's this god-awful outfit Maddie wears when she and Kat go to the mall, I think in the first season. It's like this pink and blue little like two-piece like little jacket sort of skirt set. I remember. Cassie's makeup is almost identical to that outfit. She's got this like pink and blue makeup happening. And I thought that was insane that they did that. But anyway, what I wanted to see was the aftermath of Maddie finding out that Cassie was sleeping with Nate at the Howard house after Rue, was on her little running around town. And we got to see that. And I think they did it so well. It wasn't the big beatdown I wanted. Cassie ran and locked herself in the bathroom, and Maddie and Kat are on the other side of the door, and Maddie's banging on the door, telling her to open it.
and she says, "Open the door and tell me it was worth it, and that this isn't about Nate. It's about you and me." And then she ends, and Maddie starts to cry, and she goes, "I would have never done this to you." And I have been saying, her being hurt makes so much sense, and I'm so glad they took it that way versus her being, I can't believe, first of all, I'm sure we can all believe Nate did this, right?
Yeah.
But not her going, "Oh my God, I can't believe Nate did this to me and with you." Or like, "I can't believe you slept with Nate." It was, "I can't believe you did this to me because we're supposed to be friends, if nothing else."
They're
like Cassie,
supposed to be soulmates, essentially. They called each other that, Maddie and Cassie.
Yeah. And Cassie won't open the door to look at her. She's just standing on the other side of the door crying. And like, she is, I don't use this word often, she's a coward. I've been saying she's a coward.
Yes.
If you're going to make decisions you know are bad, and she, as much as she tried to pretend, you cannot say Cassie didn't know that decision was bad, because she wouldn't have been sneaking around.
Exactly. Like, Cassie knows that this is genuinely the worst person she could have chose to do this with.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this one was really the way they made Maddie with this was perfect.
Mm-hmm. And then, like, it's not like she had some big breakdown and changed who she was entirely. She cried a little bit and she said, "I would have never done this to you." And then she kind of went back to, "Okay, well, if you come out of there, I'm going to murder you," which I think both are very valid reactions. But I think I see people talk about this online all the time. But like, if you find out your man's cheating on you, why are you getting mad at the girl and not your man? Like, I think this is in the opposite sense. But like, I think they didn't place the blame on the right person. Because is Nate a little to blame? Yes. Do we know he's insane? Yes. Was he her boyfriend anymore? No. So like, to an extent, he didn't really have.
Can you be surprised that Nate did this? Not really.
But like, Cassie, your soulmate, like
Cassie,
the person who you ran to because you were so sad because you finally broken up with Nate for the final time and you didn't know what to do with yourself.
And she just This is
anyway.
I think it's funny that Cassie's last name is Howard because she's Howard the Coward. Thank you. You can use that.
Who? Not Sam Levinson. Anybody else?
Well, he can use it. He's gonna ruin it, but he can use it.
And then we get on a lighter note. There's some more stuff happening. Not terribly important.
Oh, wait, just real quick. We also get the very worst scene ever. I know I say that a lot, and I'm right every single time. We get this cut where it's Nate and Cassie are in the middle of knowing each other biblically. And then...
Oh, yeah, see, I was trying to skip past that.
And then it turns into Nate and his dad, and it turns out that that's the kind of nightmares that Nate is having. And honestly, I would become a nun. I would become a nun, and then I would get a lobotomy, or I would do it the other way around, but I would definitely do both of those things.
Okay, well, since you brought it up, here's my notes. It goes first of all, I went from Maddie and then to Cassie, but honestly, I thought he was going from Maddie to Jules in his little dream. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, and then his dad is here. And then I was like, how did Lexi know about that? Oh my God, his dad is on him, which is horrible and terrifying, but also a good metaphor for what his dad did to them. Like, he dominated his hookups, but he also dominated his family.
Yes.
Which is what he's doing in this awful nightmare. And then, so then we get a scene that everyone loved, and I thought this is when Eleanor and I agree that Ethan is the bravest person in this entire show, because we get this homoerotic football musical piece, okay, where Ethan is playing Nate. The funniest part of all of this to me is Nate is so tall and beefy, and Ethan is not even a little bit. And then I said, all team sports are a little homoerotic.
Oh,
I say that as someone who plays a team sport.
Exactly. They really honestly are. I know the one that gets kind of the worst rep is softball with lesbians. Mm-hmm. But, like, we've all seen what a baseball team looks like.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
But, like, basically they're They're like wearing their little football pants. They're in their locker room changing and like just singing. And there's like, it's a full production. Okay. I think most of the budget of the play was in this one scene.
Yeah.
And I went back to, first of all, I don't know how, for everything else, I'll give Lexi a pass for her being like, I like not really understanding why it might upset people. How did she think this was going to go over?
I think that she knew that this one would upset everyone. And honestly, I'm glad she took that gamble. Because football is a little homoerotic. I think that perhaps she didn't know how insane Nate was when she was in the early stages of drafting this scene. And then it was too late to change it. I also would not, yell at you if you told me that Ethan saw the script and in the script it was one gay joke and he was like, no.
I have some notes.
I need to get into Juilliard. I need a good portfolio.
I said, I don't remember where I said this. It might have been on Twitter or on Instagram, but I was like, Ethan's the bravest man because Nate is a kind of like a shoot first, ask questions never kind of guy. And Ethan got to go back to school with this man on Monday. And then, like, so they're watching, right? And Cassie is, like, Nate's getting visibly upset. Cassie is just the walking definition of, I can fix him. And Rue is the only person in this entire scenario that's more entertained than me at this moment. Honestly. Because Rue is watching the play, having the time of her life, okay? And I said, Nate, actually, you know what, Nate and Cassie, I said Nate might pull a Cassie, so they're meant to be together. Because if he didn't react, he stormed out of the play. If he didn't react, everyone would just been like, oh, haha, Lexi's making fun of football and dudes in general. And, you know, Nate's our star football player, so of course he's there. But, like, if you storm out and act mad because of how you're being portrayed.
Taking it so personally made it personal. Sorry, buddy.
Even taking Nate out of the scene, I thought objectively it was a great scene. Right, and then he storms out, right? And then Cassie follows him. And he's like, he's so mad, and she's trying to calm him down. He was like, that was homophobic. Yeah, Nate, I'm sure that's your concern. Is Lexi's not being an ally to the LGBTQ plus community.
That's the thing, like, it's so funny to me that Lexi was like, football is gay. And Nate said, me gay? No. And it's like, yeah.
That was homophobic. And then, right, because this makes sense, he goes, she's your sister, get out of my house. Yeah, my sister that I ruined my relationship with for you. I didn't know she was writing this play. Why am I getting kicked out of your house for something my sister did? My sister, who I very clearly don't speak to because I have moved in with you and made you my whole life. Remember when I told you you can do anything you want to me and I ruined my life for you? You know what that included? Me not talking to my sister.
Yeah, her relationship with her sister. But again, shoot first, ask questions. Never. So, I mean, at least it's a fitting decision for him. At the very least.
Listen, we say this every time. He's insane. And then, so he storms off. Cassie's upset because, of course she is. Listen, I think everyone's entitled to their emotions except for Cassie. I have zero sympathy for her. And so, then she's mad, okay? And she looks like she's gonna start foaming at the mouth, honestly, the way she's being, and I think this is great acting, but like the way she's being played, she's about to start foaming at the mouth. So then we just get this horrible shot of Cassie looking like she's looking through the auditorium doors. You know how like school doors have those like little tiny rectangle windows? Yeah. So she's looking through it. Yeah, it's like crosshatch, right? And she's just like breathing really heavily.
It just looks like she's escaping from a shower. It really does. I said,
Sydney Sweeney needs to start doing horror movies, okay? Because, like, that was great. But, like, honestly, what was her plan? Because we haven't seen we don't know what's coming in the next episode. What was her plan? To just stand there angrily at Lexi's play that everyone else is enjoying?
Would not be surprised if she didn't have one.
And then the episode rudely just ends.
It really does. And, I do think that is where we're going to have to leave you. Please.
I did save a note, a lighthearted note for this. This happens a little earlier, before all that foolishness. But Fez is still getting ready to go, and Faye is helping him get ready. She helps him tie his tie, and then he ends up taking it off. And while she's helping him, he says to her, I think she says he looks nice or handsome or something, right? And he goes, "You think other people will think I look handsome? What other people, Fez?"
Yeah,
What people?
Who do you wanna
What
look
people do you
handsome
want? Yeah. Anyway, and then Fez shows up to the play, and it's a great time, and everyone is alive and happy, and
At the
then
end,
we all sing Kumbaya.
the season is over. Rue is, never gonna touch drugs again. Cassie is in intensive therapy. Nate is in intensive therapy in another state. Let's give Maddie some therapy too.
Why not?
Has recovered from her brain disease. Lexi should
Ethan has forgiven
go.
her.
Just to top it all off, Fez and Lexi are even in couples counseling together to just really make sure everything is going smoothly.
Ashtray is starting the 5th grade. It's great. It's really good.
Faye is finally getting her GED.
And we're the new writers of Euphoria, so we will see you in 2024 apparently.
Yes. Yes, we will. It's going to all be like the Jules special episode where it's just real time cameras in therapy sessions. But honestly, it's better than this.
Well, no, what happens? Remember how I said the only way I'm going to go to therapy is if we get couples therapy? What Eleanor's going to do is she's just going to write in a character for me and then make me go to therapy.
Yeah, obviously, you're going to play the cousin that Rue has to go live with to sort her life out.
Because Rue's mom finally decided to be a parent in our version. Anyway, I have been Kalina.
And I have been Eleanor.
We will see you next week.
Join us soon for our last episode on this journey.
I'm sure everyone will be very glad that it's over, except us. We could just do it again.
Yeah, we'll just start again.
We just live stream, we rewatch Euphoria, and just live stream our reactions.
We'll just do recaps of our recaps, and we'll just keep going until somebody shuts us down.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you. Good night.
Thanks for listening. Don't quote me on that. One day we'll have an outro, but it's not today.